Then a hip hop album review, Post Malone, Hollywood's Bleeding. Look, slight mix up with you patrons. We didn't mean to put this one on the poll because we already decided to do this one, even though this was the lowest one. So y'all really didn't want to see this, but we already agreed to do it. However, if you want to support, look, man, support us by subscribing, liking the video. Make sure you hit the bell notification or become a patron. You do any one of those things, man, you're supporting us and we appreciate that. Back to the review, Post Malone, Hollywood's Bleeding. So it was very interesting for us to come up with this because obviously Post Malone kind of dabbles in hip hop, but he's not a hip hop artist.
Well, he started out in hip hop, right? He started out as a hip hop artist, as a rapper?
Not really, because he always sang. He was never like rapping like that. He wasn't even doing like the Future thing. You know what I'm saying? Like Future is more hip hop than I would even say Post Malone, but a lot of Post Malone's productions, features, stuff like that kind of put him in hip hop, but not really. And I think you kind of hear that on this album where there's a lot of pop influence, but he still has Future, DaBaby, Meek Mill. So he still SZA. So he still pulls for those hip hop artists and those features. You know what I'm saying? So he gives those influences. The only other really non-hip hop artist that we've reviewed on here is The Weeknd. With me and Myke, we just have a Weeknd thing. I'm sorry, but
what about Ray Shrummer? Is he kind of like in that lane type of thing?
Talking about Swae Lee or
Ray Shrummer is like
but they're broke up now.
Well, I'm just saying, but they were a group that, would you consider them?
They were hip hop because both of them guys was rapping. Like they did melody type shit and that wavy shit, airy, spacey shit too. But both of those guys rapped. But either way, Post Malone, man. Post Malone, I want to say this is his third album.
Is it?
Yeah, in 2016, I want to say it was his debut album, Stoney, and then in 2018, he had Beer Bongs and Bentleys. And I listened to both of those projects because my relationship with Post Malone's music is like this. I feel that there's certain artists that make great albums, right? Or mixtapes or whatever, like great bodies of work. And there's some artists that just have certain songs that are good. And Post Malone is just one of those artists that only has certain songs that are good. Because when I've listened to all three albums now, and I can't enjoy one from top to bottom.
You're a good man.
Well, here's the thing, like the joints that I like from Post Malone, like I really like. So like we go back like White Iverson, like he killed. Like even if you may not like it, he killed that summer with White Iverson. He has bangers. His projects just they just don't meet the level of the bangers he produces. And even on this, right, like.
In your perspective, though, because he seems to be doing fairly well.
Oh no, he does fairly well. This is 100% my perspective. I'm not speaking for the masses. I'm speaking for Feefo 24/7 and motherfuckers that like to bump in the whip with me. That's about it. You know what I'm saying? But the thing I do like about Post Malone, and you hear it a lot on the first track, Hollywood's Bleeding, is that he has some twang in his voice. You know what I'm saying? Twang. That's the best way I can explain it. But outside of that, man, like there's only like maybe 4 or 5 songs on this out of 17 that I like, and that's been consistent with his other projects. I like Hollywood's Bleeding. Enemies with DaBaby came in that motherfucker doing his thing, man. I fuck with DaBaby, man.
DaBaby is really interesting because Enemies was a terrible song, but as soon as DaBaby started rapping, it changed the whole motherfucking song. That dude, man, there's something about that dude, man. Yeah. It is something about that dude.
You know, the track Die For Me with Future, I fuck with that one.
On the struggle?
That's a violin.
Man. I thought everything on it was horrible.
Everything?
Except one song.
Okay.
Circles was the only one. And that's only because I like the beat. It had a nice little groove to it.
So, okay, is there anything else Post Malone that you've liked, like project-wise? Yeah. Because if there isn't, then this doesn't surprise me.
It's probably not going to surprise anybody watching this show. He was, I guess, part of my vitriol back in the day. I think he was one of my targets. When I was listening to this album, I kept trying to find somebody to blame. Like, who's at fault for this? Who's at fault for Post Malone even I'm okay with him having a career, and I think now he's trying to distance himself from hip hop. Mm-hmm. So if he was doing something else, right, outside of hip hop, fine, cool, whatever. But to come into hip hop, build it up, and then bounce. You know, we've talked about that ad nauseum before. You know, it's kind of like I just don't understand. And you know, where were the quote unquote gatekeepers? Like, why are hip hop sites even covering this guy? You know, because when I'm listening to this,
and he's had big hits that incorporate either hip hop elements or hip hop artists. So what do you mean the gatekeepers? Like, the man has made
because
big
he hasn't
hits.
been hip hop, but they cover him like a hip hop artist, I guess is what I'm saying. So it's one thing to have a feature. It's one thing to be Miley Cyrus and to have features. And I can see a site covering that and say Miley Cyrus featured in the Future. Here's a new Future, you know, feature for somebody. But they cover him like he's hip hop. Like he's a hip hop artist. So I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna be an old fuddy duddy, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm listening, I'm like, all right, man, there's gonna be some songs where he's gonna do some melodic rapping, some Future shit. And I found maybe one or two. I said, okay, well, maybe let's listen to the shit with the rappers on it. I was like, nah, man. Like, we have Future. That's good enough. And Future's way better than this. Mm-hmm. That little wavy, melodic, rapping style, or whatever you want to call it. But even if you just take him outside of hip hop and just as a standalone artist, making whatever that music is, pop, if that's what y'all want to call it, that shit just not good. It's not good as hip hop. It's not good as pop music. It's not good as electronic music. It's not good as anything.
I thought you said you weren't gonna sound like an old fuddy duddy. You sound exactly like an old fuddy duddy right now.
Let me stay in character here.
Right. I mean, I agree with you that this is awful. Like, awful.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand the people that are liking this. I don't understand the appeal.
Have you ever, going back to
I've never even listened to him. The only song I heard was the White Iverson song, and I was like, wow, this is awful.
It's awful, but did you understand how people could like it? Ooh.
No, I didn't.
Interesting.
It was catchy.
So you didn't like the Party Next Doors?
Hell no.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Because I don't like that kind of shit.
No, I feel you, because I feel like he's in line with that type of music.
Yeah, I don't like that kind of stuff. When I heard White Iverson, I was like, wow, I think this is really bad. But at the same time, I was like, okay, it's clearly not made for me. It's a very catchy song. It's a very party song. I get it, but I don't get it, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but I don't care. What made me want to listen to this, and that's why when I forget who suggested this, but you, what made me want to listen to this was Take What You Want. That was a song with Ozzy. And I saw it pop up and I was like, Post Malone and Ozzy, wow, this is gonna be trash. So I clicked it and I was like, I don't hate this. I was like, this actually sounds kind of interesting. Ozzy sounded great, the beat was dark, it worked. So that's why I was okay with listening to this album. I didn't hate the intro, Hollywood's Bleeding. I didn't hate it.
So you sounds good on that.
When it hit Saint-Tropez, bro.
Whack. Oh no, number 2 was poppy, very poppy.
Whack. You're mispronouncing the word whack. It was
it's not poppy?
Whack.
No, it's not poppy.
Whack. Bro, abs like Abercrombie and Fitch. And there's nothing against DaBaby, but the only thing that made DaBaby stand out so much is because the rest of the song was so whack. When it hit Allergic, what in the fuck? That weird dance beat, it almost sounded like a joke. It sounded like some terrible mall punk band heard like trap music and was like, you know what? We're gonna try our hand at that. It sounded like fucking Green Day was like, we're gonna make a trap song. And that's what they did. This album, I'm sorry, I know it sounds mean. I'm sure Post Malone is a very nice person. So I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just, I don't understand the appeal of this album. This to me sounded like The Weeknd got stuck in a haunted Hot Topic and couldn't get out. And the only way for him to escape was to make an album that sounded like this.
Weeknd clearly has a lane or a topic of conversation.
Okay.
Right? Like how we always talk about he be on this pimp shit. And he always talk about drugs and the lifestyle. I don't really get like an overarching theme of who or why Post Malone is who he is. It seems like he just seeks like what's poppy, what's trendy, and tries to go that route. And let me get these names and stuff like that. Like because his music, like I said, I've listened to all 3 albums. There doesn't feel like there's a point to it. He's just making music to make music.
Well, does there have to be a point?
No, there doesn't have to. But I think that it's kind of what works for Weeknd. And I'm not saying what works for Weeknd will work for everybody. I'm not saying that. But I have yet to really feel or understand who Post Malone is as an artist.
See, I don't really care who Post Malone is as an artist. When it comes to pop music, that's not really what sucks me into hearing it. It's just when I listen to Post Malone, I feel like the way he composes songs is very boring. And that was my thing. Like this album is like what, close to an hour?
51
like
minutes.
Something minutes?
Yep.
I was bored to tears. Halfway through this, I felt like that episode of fucking of Family Guy, you know, where they all take the Ipecac and they all just start throwing up. And then there's one part where Stewie's like, I don't want it. That's how I felt. I was like, there's more songs. I don't want to listen to more of this. I'm done. It was a struggle, serious struggle to get through this. And it's like, what made this so weird to me is people praise this. Not just younger people, but critics.
Praise the album?
Well, him in
Post
general.
Malone. Okay.
Yes.
Him in general. I haven't watched any reviews for this album yet. But they talk about how even if they don't like his music, he's an incredible songwriter and this and that. He incorporates all these different kinds of blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, when I walked into this, I was expecting not to like it, but I was expecting to still understand what they claim is the genius of this. And I don't.
Yes.
I don't understand it.
I feel like this about Post Malone. He has 3 albums out. And I could take the best of all 3 albums and only make one good album out of 3 projects. Because I don't know, I don't know if, you know, other reviewers or y'all, but I just feel like he has a lot of filler.
There's a lot of stuff that I hate. There's a lot of the newer hip hop music that I hate.
Right.
But at least I'm able to understand the appeal
He's probably
at times.
I don't understand the extreme appeal of this. I kind of like Internet only because I thought the beat was cool. Like you could easily tell where Kanye was a part of that, you know, that whole orchestral part. But then he said some shit about, I don't care about your puppy, just them ass and them breastises. And it's like, when I listen to his lyrics, I can't tell if that's just his sense of humor or if he thinks those lines are actually like dope. Like I get confused the way I get confused with Big Sean, where it's like, I can't tell if he's just fucking around or if he's serious. If he's fucking around, okay, it's funny. If he's serious, it's really bad.
It felt like everybody was bad over here.
SZA was good.
Which is weird. You like SZA?
Hell yeah, SZA sounded great on that song. That song wasn't good, but SZA sounded great on that song. I thought Meek Mill, I thought his verse was okay. But again, we're grading it against what Post Malone is doing. And Post Malone, the issue I have with when I listen to his music is I can't tell a fucking chorus from a verse.
True.
Like he hasn't changed his approach. It's the same shit.
But it felt like we didn't get everybody's full effort.
Would you give your full effort to this?
Like Young Thug, I've heard good Young Thug
that was
stuff.
bad.
He was
Sorry.
terrible. This shit, no. They don't even get the full iPad.
They need to get the phone.
Just get the phone.
So favorite tracks?
Yep.
Favorite track, give me Hollywood's Bleeding, give me Enemies, give me Die For Me, give me Sunflower Internet.
Give me DaBaby
Don't be so disrespectful.
and part on Enemies. And give me Circles. I did like Circles. Circles had a groove to it.
Give me Hollywood's Bleeding. Give me Take What You Want. And give me Wow. Only because it was the end and it offered me a ray of light. Just like, oh, this is almost over.
Post Malone, if you're watching, this is probably the reason why we've never reviewed you right here, buddy. Yeah, man. Because I already I knew personally that the guys wasn't gonna like it.
You lucky B wasn't here.
Yeah, oh man, B would have said shit. B would have just stayed quiet.
This is horrible.
I'm not listening to it again. Hard in the recycle bin. But now, Post, man, I really fuck with your singles, bro. Like I'm not with Ken and Myke where they just absolutely think you're trash. I don't absolutely think you're trash. It's just that all of your music just don't resonate for me. Some of that shit is just way too fucking poppy, bro. I don't fuck with that. But like the 5 tracks that I named on here, like Rockstar, like White Iverson, the joint with Quavo, like you got joints I fuck with heavy. You know what I'm saying? But as an artist, I don't necessarily look out for what's happening. You know, if I hear you on the radio or if somebody says, hey, Feefo, you should check this out. That's how I can kind of stay in tune with your music, man. But obviously, man, you're huge, bro. You probably not even gonna see this, so don't worry about what me, Ken, and Myke is saying, bro. It don't matter.
Post Malone, if you're watching. I really have no words for you, bro. You don't have to listen to me. I'm gonna steal something from Myke. You don't have to listen to me. Obviously, what you're doing is working. And I'm gonna steal something from Feefo. I guess just keep doing what you're doing, bro. That's it. It's just this ain't it for me.
I understand that whack shit to me is not whack to other people. And if you're not making that shit for me, then you shouldn't give a shit what I think. Keep doing your thing because you're clearly doing very well. You don't need my fucking $9.99 for your CD because you've got your $9.99 from a whole bunch of other people, and you've got $1,000 Crocs. That's gotta say something about what you're doing. I like your tattoos.